I ran out of memory. I got about another half hour. I forgot to empty the trash before I started that last video, and that's what I do, is take out the trash. So, Mark the Mark is the new Tiger Doug, and Tiger Doug is probably gonna be stoked to find out there's a new Tiger Doug. He's probably like, finally, he didn't want to be the only Tiger Doug anymore. And Mark deserves a roasting 10 times as much as Tiger Doug. Because Mark sent me the notification from the sheriff's office where they gave you very specific directions, right down to a quarter mile or a half mile on this road, the location of this fire, and the time of each of these fires. 4 or 5 simultaneous fires that started, and they're all within, oh, I don't know, 10 to 20, maybe 30-minute drive at the most of where Mark lives in Montana. The Flathead County Sheriff's Office put out this notification. And Mark refuses, because they were putting out a notification asking anyone that has any information about these fires to come forward. And he could have driven down there, taken some photos of the fires, showing the plasma fire burn signatures that he's learned from me, and gone and shown photos or video to that sheriff's office. Said, look, this is what these fires are. It's not an arsonist. And here's the library of content that you can access. I made a video about this. One guy commented in that video that he sent the video that I made about this subject. It was like directed to the sheriff's office. He forwarded it to the sheriff's office in Flathead County. Mark didn't do that. And I told you in that video, they're probably not actually requesting the public's help in trying to figure out how these fires are happening. I told you in that video, it's probably more like an announcement that they can say, hey, we told everyone. We told you these 4 simultaneous fires started right down to the minute, like 2:35 p.m. and how far apart they were. So no one could have possibly traveled from one spot to the other. I'm gonna flip around. We got women and children and kids at the dog park. I don't need to be telling them all about the plasma fire. I told you in that video, they're probably not actually requesting the public's help in figuring this out. That they were, I said, probably just putting out a notification so they could say, hey, we told you guys. We did it in the form of asking for the public's help in figuring it out. And in that request, we told you what we know, and that would have been enough for you to figure it out for yourself. When we told you the exact locations of these fires, the exact time that they started, which means they already have video. If they know that each of these fires started at exactly 2:35, like 4 out of the 5 fires started at 2:35. They already have like Ring doorbell footage in order to know that specifically what time these fires started. That notification that they sent out was a recruitment effort, looking for a few good men who are smart enough to see it and courageous enough to say it. And Mark fell short in one of those areas. He was smart enough to see it if he would have gone down and looked, because I've educated his dumb ass. But he didn't even go look. He ain't gonna go take no photos. He ain't gonna go prove that those are plasma fires. He knows damn well they are, just as well as I do. Instead, he tells me, oh, I'm gonna make you a Lichtenberg burning device video, because I know you can't use other YouTubers' videos. This is literally a text that he sent me. So instead of helping the sheriff out with that request they put out for anyone who knows anything about these fires to help us figure out who done it, how they done it, instead of doing that, he did something more important. He's gonna make a Lichtenberg burning device in his garage so he can make me a video because he knows that I can't use anyone else's video. Bitch, please. You're taking the softer, easier way out because you're a pussy and you prefer to drink beer, and that's your problem. That's why we're calling you Marky Mark and the Crunky Bunch. Mark the mark, because you are a mark. You're marked for failure. You're marked for eradication. On the consciousness farm filtration process, you marked yourself. And I said, people will declare themselves unworthy. This is in my trip to Missouri videos. People will declare themselves unworthy of God's presence during this filtration process. They will show their true colors and declare themselves, I'm not unworthy. Yeah, you may be Jeffrey Christ, but not me. I'm just Mark the Mark. And so when the sheriff, this is why I say Mark deserves this roasting 10 times more than Tiger Doug. I would like to think that Tiger Doug, if the local sheriff put out the specific time and location of fires in his area that were a short drive away, and ask him for help, asking him for any information you have regarding this subject. It's not like you're approaching them about some foreign subject they've never heard anything about. They are asking you to come forward with any information you have regarding this subject, giving you the specific time and locations where all these fires happen. I would like to think that if that happened to Tiger Doug, he would have gone right over there and said, yeah, I think I know how these fires are happening, and I can go to these fire locations and show you the burn signatures of plasma fire that prove that these are not an arsonist, but this is an electromagnetic phenomenon that is happening on our planet. And I know there can come fire from the sky to refine the purest of kings. And Mark failed at that refinement process. He fell short. He balked. He took a half step and a half measure. Instead of going and doing what the sheriffs are requesting of me, which would actually be able to fulfill this calling that I have, I'm going to sit in my garage and make a fucking little burning device and hook a little car battery up to some wood. Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. I owe you a public apology. You owe everyone here an apology for being such a coward. Smart enough to see it, courageous enough to say it, and the fucking sheriff was even asking you to go show them and tell them. And you didn't do it? You're lying to yourself, you little boy. I don't know what fucking story you tell yourself about who you think you are. But in this most recent text he sent me, he said, fuck those black dot craft. What I'm showing you in the clouds is more important. Some clouds? Bitch, whatever shapes you're seeing in those clouds are directly related to those black dot craft. The black dot craft are causing those clouds to take those shapes. Yet he sits here and sends me a text saying I owe him a public apology, and that what he's trying to show me is more important. He said, fuck those black dot craft. Forget about them. What I'm showing you is more important. Bitch, please. You're going to know the truth one day, and those stories you're telling yourself right now are going to fall so short. They're going to fall flat on their face. Just like you, when you're in the presence of God, because you chose not to fulfill your calling when you received it. And it wasn't some nebulous, ethereal, vaporous, incorporeal concept of a calling. It was directly from the local county sheriff's office, giving you specific locations of fires that they wanted help from anyone that has the information to come share that information with us. That was your calling, bitch. The offer was shunned, and you might as well be walking on the sun. That was an initiation. Looking for a few good men. Anyone who's smart enough to see it and courageous enough to say it, come on down. Here, let me give you the locations. That way you can go take pictures of the plasma fire burn signature so that when you come down, you've got all the proof you need. What did you do? You sat home in your fucking garage and hooked up a car battery to some wood and tell yourself that that's more important. Because I can't use anyone else's video to show people what Lichtenberg burning devices work and look like. You are deluding yourself. To thine own self be true means don't lie to yourself. And that's the worst kind of lie, is the one you tell yourself and believe. So does everyone agree? Mark the Mark, who decided to sit home and drink some cronk instead of going out and doing his job that he was called to do, deserves 10 times the roasting as Tiger Doug. You are the new Tiger Doug, Mark the Mark. And guess what? Nothing ever happens without consequence or cost. Tell me, will the stars align? Will heaven step in and will it save us from our sin? Will it? 'Cause this house of mine stands strong, and that's the price you pay. Leave behind your heart and cast away. You're just another product of today, and I'd rather be the hunter than the prey. You are the prey. That song starts asking, will you hold the line? When every one of them is giving up and giving in, tell me, in this house of mine, where nothing ever happens without consequence or cost. And there will be consequence and cost to the decisions you made to not answer the calling that you received. So you sit there and you tell yourself whatever story you tell yourself right now, and I assure you that story ain't gonna hold up for much longer. The truth is coming for all of us. And whatever story you're telling yourself is far from the truth about what you did, who you are, the constituency of your makeup, what you're made of. You received a calling after receiving the education, after everything I've done to educate your ass, and the fucking sheriff show you right where the fires are and ask anyone to come give us the information we're looking for to help us figure this out, and you fucking didn't do it? There will be consequences for that, you piece of shit. Now let's talk about the part in your most recent texts that say, fuck those black dot craft, what I'm showing you is more important. Here's how you're lying to yourself. You don't know what the fuck those black dot craft even are, nor what it is that you're trying to show me, but somehow you've declared one to be more important than the other. How can you rank them in importance when you have no fucking clue what either of them are? You're a little boy who wants attention. Look at me, mommy, look at me, look at me. You think I owe you my undivided attention because you watched me and my life story. Now I need to sit here and watch and listen to you and your life story. I've seen your life story. You just got my witness, and it's gonna burn. You can try to read the lyrics off these paper, but you won't take the sting out these words before I say them. Because ain't no way I'm gonna let you stop me from causing mayhem. When I say I'm gonna do something, I do it. I don't give a damn what you think. I'm doing this for me, so fuck the world. See, they beans is gassed up. They think they stopping me. I'm gonna be what I set out to be. Without a doubt, I'm down to play, and all those who look down on me, I'm tearing down your balcony. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm tired of asking why or how can he. You might try to read my lyrics off of this paper before I lay them, but you won't take the sting out these words before I say them. And the only reason they sting is because they are true. If it was just some guy talking shit, wouldn't matter, wouldn't affect you, wouldn't faze you at all. It's the truth in these words that makes it burn. And I swing this sort of truth effectively. So I'm gonna leave you alone now to go fucking lick your wounds. Don't you ever fucking contact me again. If you do, I'll just block your number. And we're gonna move on now. I got quite a few other things I want to talk about, but just to segue us off this subject and get away from Mark the Mark so he can go drink some more of his crunky bunch. There is a commercial, Ocean Spray Cranberry. The abbreviated version of it keeps coming over my phone saying, what will you do with all that power? I'm gonna throw 3 or 4 versions of it in the description of this video. The elongated version proves they're not just talking about cranberries. And it says this little red circle, the power of this little red circle. Is it an electron moving at hundreds of thousands of miles per second? Is it the sun? Is if they're just talking about cranberries, it's neither the sun or an electron moving at 100,000 million miles a second. And they talk about how it's got this ancient power that will be unlocked, that is more powerful than anything humanity has ever fathomed. They're not just talking about cranberries. This little red circle they're talking about might be more like a drop of blood. But it's certainly not just talking about cranberries. And it keeps coming on my phone. What will you do with all that power? What will you do with all that power? And they've got 4 or 5 versions of this commercial. All of them, they either say, what will you do with all that power? Or they write it out in the caption at the end of the video. So, this power is going to be handed over. It's called onboarding and succession planning in the corporate world. Onboarding is the new hires. Succession planning is when the old guard retires. But they can't retire until they got some new hires to hand the baton off to. Until onboarding has been done, succession planning cannot be carried out. So they're asking you and me, what are you going to do with all this power that we're going to hand you when you get the ring of power? Because that's coming. And that's what that cranberry commercial is about. It's not about cranberries. So watch the elongated version of it. And I wrote myself some notes on my other phone. Basically just what I said just now. If they're just talking about cranberries, then it's not the sun. It's not an electron moving at 1 trillion miles an hour. That little red circle is a fucking cranberry. They're not talking about cranberries. And the one thing they say in each and every version of this commercial is, what will you do with all that power? That is a muse message embedded within a commercial advertisement for Ocean Spray cranberry juice. What I realized about these muse messages is when you've had the experiences I have, connection with God, in the songs, it relates back to that thing where we associate a pattern we don't recognize. I've gone over this before. When you see a pattern that you don't recognize, you assign it the meaning of the closest thing to it that you do recognize. So when the average person hears a song, the closest thing to it that they do recognize from experience in their own life is a relationship between a man and a woman. But once you've had a relationship with God, you assign that pattern that they're depicting within the song a new meaning, because you have a new pattern within your life that gives you the ability to identify the meaning. You're not just giving it the closest meaning to the closest thing to that pattern that you recognize. You have a new experience, which gives you a new pattern to assign it meaning. From that context of this experience of a relationship with God, you can hear a whole new meaning in the songs. So it goes with this muse message and this cranberry juice commercial. I know they're not talking about cranberry juice. So just to give it all to you, because I've been withholding a little bit out of fear of how some people may react, and out of respect to an agreement that I made with a guy at work. I made him a video. I made a video for a guy at work and sent it to him and 4 other people, also guys at work. I sent that video to Dax, Tarek, Parker, Brad, and Bud. 5 people. Brad and Bud are the number 1 and 2 in command in authority there on that particular job site. To give my regular viewers the backstory here, a few months back, I was backing a truck up onto a hill loaded with 100,000 pounds of dirt, backing it up onto a hill, and got off the side to the point where it was dangerous, potentially a roll hazard, where you roll the truck. And I got out of the truck, and my intentions were to get a track hoe. This wind is kicking up. I feel like I'm yelling because the wind is whistling in my ears. My intentions were to grab a track hoe in order to hold the truck up while I get out of this predicament that I got myself into. And so I get out of the truck. There's two people, Dax and Steve. Dax is 19 years old. Steve is in his early 50s. Dax started working with Steve when he was 16 years old, 3 years ago. Steve has been a mentor to Dax. Dax is missing a father figure in his life. Daxton is his name. And when I got out of the truck, Steve, you know, these same guys that are trying to be the straw that breaks the camel's back when it comes to me, he told me, oh, you can drive that out of there. Yeah, you can go ahead. Just turn it downhill and drive out of there. I said, well, you go ahead. Go ahead. He's like, oh, no, never mind. What, do you want to get a track hoe or something? I said, wait a minute. You just asked me and told me to get in that truck and drive it out of there? And you're not willing to? Well, you're the one that fucking got it on the hill sideways. I said, what? And he shut the fuck up and turned around. He started getting loud with me, yelling about how I was the one who got it on the hill sideways to change the subject. That is beside the point. That it is now on that hill sideways with a high risk of rollover. And Steve told me, oh, you can go ahead and do that. Yeah, you can do that. Just point it downhill and hit the gas. I said, you go ahead. Oh, no, never mind. What, do you want to get a track hoe or something? I stopped him and called him on what he did right then and there. Told him, you just told me to do something you're not willing to do. And then he got loud with me. You're the one that put it on the side of the hill. I screamed, what? And he turned around and shut the fuck up. I walked over to Brad. First, I told Dax and Steve, fuck you, fuck both of you. Then I walked over to Brad and said they tried to set me up for failure and I don't appreciate it. And Brad saw that I can let the dog off the chain and let it bark and call it back onto the chain and still have it under control. I can let that fire-breathing dragon blow some heat. And if you need a little heat in your face, that's what I'm here for. It's a lyric from Burn It Down by AWOL Nation. You know, how he's on trial for having a guilty, filthy soul. Anyway, so I gave him a little heat, Dax and Steve, because Steve just asked me to do something he himself wasn't willing to do. I walk over to Brad, number one in command on that job site, told him he just tried to set me up for failure and I don't appreciate it. In those words, specifically. And after about 5 minutes of contemplation, Dax, the 19-year-old young, dumb, wet behind the ears kid, decided to get in that truck and try to roll it down the hill. He got lucky. In the video that I made for him, I explained to him what happened that day. Because on a Saturday, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago now, I went into work on a Saturday and Dax sent me home. He's still pretty young and dumb and wet behind the ears. He thinks he wants to be the boss. And you know what the sad part is? After everything I've shown them, your money doesn't matter. Which directly segues to another video I'm going to put in the description that I made for a guy named Charles that I met yesterday, Saturday. Today is Sunday, the 28th of August. Yesterday on Saturday, the 27th of August, I went into a place in East Bay Mall, Provo Mall, called Drawn to Dragons. It's a place, an art studio. I went in there the Saturday prior to, so that would have been on the 21st, and spoke very briefly with a woman who's behind the counter, because I see that they got dragons. The whole thing is dedicated to dragons, okay? And I see that this place is just dedicated to dragons from top to bottom, inside out, the whole place. It's called Drawn to Dragons. And the lady that really does the artwork there, she paints and draws dragons. I was like, and I took a little video, but I didn't end up posting it. I took a little video. I was like, oh, this is badass. Look, this whole place is dedicated to dragons. And I asked her, you know about mosasaurs? She said, yeah, they're called mosasaurs. I was like, okay, mosasaurs. Dragons are real though. Have you seen them? She's like, yeah, they're fossils. Guess what? Those fossils don't take millions of years to form. The mosasaurs that I have on video from 2 of my recent videos that show on the thumbnail a big dragon head, those teeth still have color in them. And the plasma apocalypse is what turns those bones into fossils, not millions of years. We're in the middle of the plasma apocalypse right now. And Joni Mitchell references this process in a lyric in her song, Woodstock. Petrified wood process, tall timber down to rock. Hold on, we got some normie geezers on the roll.